video, I'm going to be reviewing Gullfoss by Soundtheory. There's hardly a problem this EQ can't solve, and it can do it in seconds with no hassle. Let's begin. So Soundtheory has managed to make an automatic equalizer that, with just 5 simple parameters, always knows what to do. Gullfoss is basically like a fix-anything EQ that can be used to quickly and transparently solve just about any problem a mix can throw at you. It can breathe life into full mixes. It can fix quote-unquote unfixable recordings. I've not finished a single mix without this plugin since I first discovered it, and that's for good reason. When you activate Gullfoss, it changes its frequency response upwards of 100 times a second, so it's making kind of judgment decisions about what aspects of the sound to bring out and what aspects to reduce based on your settings. So I think the best way to go over this is just to hear it for yourself to see how quickly this can solve big mix problems. So what I've got here is basically a static mix. I've roughly balanced all the faders. I do have a little bit of parallel compression going on here in the rear bus and the parallel drum bus. And I've activated a few plugins, just a compressor here to fix a slight balancing issue that I noticed right away that was bothering me in one of the cellos. A little bit of brightness on the stereo, on the overhead stereo mics. And then these pan pots. So this is just how I pan usually using Goodhertz's pan pot plugin, which review will be coming soon. But most of this mix is just a static mix, so it is far from finished. It's got a good balance going on, but it's nowhere near what it should sound like. So let's see how quickly Gullfoss on the stereo bus can improve this mix.
Can you see the light in me? 'Cause I just kept staring, wondering why I couldn't see. And I was tired of hearing what I couldn't be. There's better days coming. Can you feel the joy in me? 'Cause I felt so much fear, but I'll help you see that there's no pain eternal. Well, you'll have to leave. You'll have to leave it all behind. You see the hope in me, 'cause I have found it lacking. Do you believe in me? 'Cause I've been doubting, wondering why you love me. Do you love me? Why is that despair?
So let me just explain what I was doing there. The recover parameter is going to bring out certain frequencies as needed, while the tame parameter is going to reduce problematic or overly resonant frequencies as needed. So you choose how much of each of these parameters you want, and then use the bias to help the plugin decide when it's unsure which way to lean. So with a negative bias, it's going to choose tame more often in edge cases, while with a positive bias, it'll choose recover more often. With the brighten parameter, this is just like a tilt shelf. It only works if you've got recover and or tame settings changing the frequency response, but it'll either tilt the whole frequency spectrum brighter or darker if you're in the negative values. And then the boost applies kind of a smile EQ. So if I just play this for a second, you can see what increasing and decreasing the boost looks like.
And grief, 'cause I tasted both, I found them wanting. Just couldn't feel the hole deep inside me. But I feel.
So when you place it negative, it emphasizes the mid frequencies, the inverse of the high and low frequencies when it's a positive value. So you can see how in just about a minute, I've taken this mix from, a decent balance to sounding really polished. And by getting this right away, by getting the tone and so much of the mix sounding so good so quickly, it's going to make the rest of the mix so much more optimal. It's just going to be so much easier to get things to fit where they need to fit, to get the tone of various instruments and things sitting right. So I love to use Gullfoss on the master bus. That's my favorite use of it. But I've also noticed a couple other problems where I think Gullfoss could be useful in this particular mix. So I'm going to leave these settings on, and now I'm going to go take a look at the drum bus. With the drums, I'm finding that the cymbals in this last section are not as prominent as I want them to be, but Gullfoss can affect individual parts of your track because of its incredibly dynamic frequency response. So let's go ahead and I'll solo the drums at first. I wouldn't usually apply my effects while soloed, but just so you can hear what's going on, and then I'll unsolo it to finish applying my settings. So notice how the frequency response comes down to neutral pretty much when the snare hits. So it's not brightening the snare, but the frequency response does increase when the kick hits. So it is brightening the kick, which is helping the kick to cut through the mix. And then generally, while the cymbals are hitting, you're hearing this brightening effect. So the cymbals are coming forward, being brought out a little bit, which is exactly what I wanted to do. My other favorite use case for Gullfoss is actually to place it on the piano subgroup. And so let's put an instance here. Let's take a listen to just the piano for a minute. What I really like about using Gullfoss on a piano is that it can really quickly get the piano sounding as though it was just recorded perfectly in a great room. Tone is perfectly balanced. So let's take a listen to that. You notice I usually start out with 50-50, adjust my bias, and then go back and adjust the other settings to taste. What I'm looking for when I'm adjusting the bias here is that these lines above and below 0 are balanced. The manual states that that's a good starting point, and I've found that to be true. So it's pretty balanced here. So let's go ahead and A/B the whole mix with and without all three of these instances of Gullfoss. So that's Gullfoss by Soundtheory. I really can't emphasize enough, and I think the plugin speaks for itself, how quickly you can use this plugin to get your whole mix or various elements in your mix just right? They're just right. So you can pick this plugin up for $200 at soundtheory.com. I'll link to it in the description. Thanks for watching. I'm Michael, and you've been watching Salt Candy.